moving on to another important issue. Is Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and the police, are they doing enough to keep the public safe on London public transport? Because one of our viewers, Lawrence, doesn't think so. He says this: in Sadiq Khan's London, sexual assaults, murders, knife crime and so on are all spiralling out of control. That's what Lawrence has got in touch to tell us.
Yeah, well, public transport in London is currently plastered with posters about the need to tackle sexual harassment and violent, aggressive behaviour. But posters don't necessarily translate into action. One campaigner says that women aren't being properly protected on public transport in London and is calling for more meaningful action.
Yes, indeed. Well, joining us is Zan Moon, women's rights campaigner and founder of Screen Grab Them, which is aiming to tackle and expose harassment. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we speak to you, can we just put up that poster we mentioned there for our TV viewers, the staring poster which has been appearing on London transport? Can we put that up? Because I do want to speak about that poster. It basically says intrusive staring is sexual harassment. They've obviously invested resources into plastering these posters on public transport and on tubes and things. There it is for people listening to us on radio. It's a big poster. I believe this one's by National Rail, and it says intrusive staring of a sexual nature is sexual harassment and is not tolerated, and gives a British Transport Police number. Now, I find it very bizarre that I'd be expected to pick up the phone and call the police because somebody's staring at me and expect that they'll actually do anything.
And how do you prove it?
Yeah, how to prove it?
You know, you phone the police, say, oh, someone's looking at me funny, and then that person's taken down to the nick.
Yeah, do you think Zan, do you think those kinds of initiatives are actually quite futile when there are actually much bigger issues at play?
Morning, both. Yes, I think a piece of paper is futile in terms of the fact that women are being murdered, 125 more women since the death of Sarah Everard last year. So I think, quite frankly, plastering posters up around the tube as a means to tackle this issue is insulting. And I also think it's impractical, given it gives a number to text, and the tube and the underground is the one place in London with zero service. So I honestly think these attempts to help this issue is absolutely absurd.
What do you think needs to be done? Because, you know, I'm with you 100%. As a woman living in London, you make choices all the time about your safety. Men just go about the place, oh, I'm going to walk home, you know you can't do that. You know you can't do that as a woman. When I walk down the main road near my house, I get all sorts of comments and, you know, oi oi and smile love and all of that. And that's just the sort of, you know, that's the thin end, isn't it? It does, as you said, women being murdered. What can we do? What should be taking place to keep us safe?
Well, that's exactly it. You summarised it. It's pretty much our everyday life as women, and that shouldn't be the case. The fact that I put a post out asking for people to come forward with testimonies about sexual harassment on TfL, and after a week I have 200 testimonies and 20 pages of assault. It's just absolutely incomprehensible, in my opinion. We need systemic change. So we need public sexual harassment to be made an offence. But there are things that the mayor can do that are practical and tangible, like put more police officers, female police officers, on tube carriages, fix the CCTV. Did you know that the CCTV on tube carriages lasts 72 hours and then it deletes? So if any victim wants to come forward, she has 3 days before it deletes and you have zero evidence. These are really simple fixes that the mayor can get a handle on right now. You know, harassment buttons on tubes and buses. That is very, very simple. Again, it can link to a police officer nearby who can come and intervene. Tangible changes is what we need, and right now we're seeing nothing.
Khan, the Mayor of London, has responded. His team have responded, and they say the Mayor is working with TfL and the police to take a zero-tolerance approach to all forms of sexual harassment across the network and stamp it out. They also say that tackling violence against women and girls remains an absolute priority. Do you accept that? Do you accept that that is a priority for Mr. Khan and his team in the Mayor of London's office?
Let me put it this way. In the last year, we've watched women be murdered by police officers. We've watched the peaceful vigil for that murder be violently stormed by police officers. We've watched two Met police officers take pictures over two dead bodies of two sisters. And we've seen police WhatsApp messages reveal shocking misogynistic language and abuse. So, no, I don't think that they're doing enough, and I don't think it's a priority. And I don't think any woman would think that if you heard that long list of their history and reputation. It's just not a priority in the government either. We've seen a lot of backlash with making this public sexual harassment an offence, a crime. It's not being prioritised at all, and as a result, women are being murdered.